So, it's online here. So Amber is here, but she's online, so I just make sure everyone speaks nice and clear for her. So in person, we have Rick Alexander, Jeff Pant, Scott Kendall, Casey Leahy, Judy Murphy, Lois Perla, Lisa Sanders, Pete Lampier. I don't see it, Tuck's here. We're online. And then obviously myself. All right, for approval of the agenda, I have an addition I would like to add, if it's acceptable. I'd like to add a public announcement regarding the board vacancy. We can move that to under approval of minutes if that's acceptable.
So
So a second.
So I had some other things
I just
about
want
the
motion
agenda.
to time now.
Oh,
Is that
okay, I
acceptable?
thought sometimes we did the
No.
agenda.
So who seconded? Okay. All in favor of adding a public announcement?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Lisa.
So just on the agenda, I think that we should correct that Kate Lampier is still a board member.
sorry.
We're happy about that. And then I wanted to add or move to add before board reorganization, appointment of a new board member from Cavendish.
So point of order. There needs to be a fair process that happens. It needs to be announced and everybody from Cavendish needs to have an opportunity to be able to apply. So rushing the process will not allow that to happen. So ethically, I could not carry out that order. If you appoint someone tonight.
So there's no intention to rush the process or?
We have 35 days to get it done, 5 days from the time of notice and 30 days after the time of notice. So April 8th is when we need to have it done by.
So we knew when no one was elected that there wasn't.
We didn't get notification of it until later. So, but this is the 35 days. That is going right from the election day, so it's irrelevant at this point in time. But no, we do not rush in Vermont.
It's within, not 35.
It's not public comment right now.
I understand.
The public announcement will actually help address like the timeframe and what we're doing. If that helps.
And I can publish it out and whatnot after the board approves the announcement.
Okay, no, I'm just wondering, I'm not quite sure why this is. Yeah. So I'm not trying to rush anything or push anything through without all of Cavendish having an opportunity.
Exactly.
But I'm not understanding why the board at this point hasn't fulfilled its obligation of the clerk notifying Cavendish within 5 days of there not being a board member elected, that needs to be done.
Mhm.
So my assumption was that part wasn't done because it was obvious that there was no one on the,
I thought the Cavendish board had to notify the Terrace.
We notify them,
No.
which was done.
All right,
And
It
you have
was
a letter from Bob.
again.
Yeah, we talked with them
comment
about
right now,
the vote that day. So they're
okay.
aware that, yeah.
okay. So the select board has actually approved moving a board member forward.
They don't approve that. That's the board's responsibility. How the rules work. So this is actually good to explain this because, we get,
Can I just ask, do you want to just move this, which was going to be a public announcement about it, to now so that we're not bouncing back and forth and just get it done?
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I think if we don't put something on the agenda, then it won't be able to be on.
But no, what I'm saying, this was like
Before
the
we approve the
explanation,
agenda?
so then we can move in.
Yeah.
So we've already approved to put this on the agenda. I'll just ask that we move it to now, which would be approval of the agenda. This is just for,
So before we approve the agenda, just because if it's after we approve the agenda,
Okay,
then
so
we have to
approve
have
it.
2/3.
okay, well, I guess then we'll talk about it now, and then we'll talk about it again.
And again, what I'm asking for now is discussion of this to be added to the agenda. I'm not pushing for anything to happen that would be unethical.
no, it sounded like you're asking for an appointment, so I apologize if that was.
I asked to add it to the agenda.
So what is the motion that you're requesting?
I move to add to the agenda a discussion and action of appointment of a new board member from Cavendish.
I second that motion.
So all in favor of the addition of a discussion and action for a new board member from Cavendish being added to the agenda?
Just for point of clarity, just discussion, we're not appointing anyone, right, Wayne?
Well, it's concerning when I hear action, because that means a vote.
Yeah, that's why just want to clarify.
Yeah, so the motion would be to make that action possible. But I just thought that this discussion that we're having right now should be something that's on the agenda rather than before we're approving the agenda.
And if we all agree that it's not ethical to do that, or it's not
Then you
within the
just
statute, then
vote
we
it
just won't do
down.
that. But if after discussion, we agree that is something we can do, then having it on the agenda that we can take action would be helpful.
Is everyone clear on that?
Just a
So they
discussion.
want to discuss the Cavendish seat and then vote on it if the board wants to vote on it. Is that clear?
So if that's
Maybe we'll
different
try
than
it.
what was just done, that would need to be re-motioned. That makes sense.
I'm open to discussion because I thought I understood the process and now I'm slightly confused. So I would absolutely agree with motion to discuss. I'm not comfortable necessarily with moving forward with action, not fully understanding what we're actioning. I'd like to
So, yeah,
get the
so
discussion
what,
done first and make sure we have a clear understanding.
so what my motion is to add to the agenda before board reorganization, an item to discuss with possible action the addition of a board member from Cavendish. But of course, if the board doesn't want to take action, then we don't take action. There's no, like with anything else on the agenda where it says action, if the board doesn't decide to act, we don't have to act.
Katie, I hate to put you on point, you were appointed as a Chester representative. at the
Yes.
beginning. You had to go in front of the select board, then the select board said that you were approved by the town to come to the school district, correct?
Correct.
Did you have a letter, or did they announce that to the school?
I believe they contacted the superintendent,
Lauren?
yes, Lauren and Joe, maybe to say that they were putting forth both me and Ben Galen.
Yeah,
So
and
maybe
Ben,
that
yeah,
was the time.
yeah.
I've sat through several appointments, and in my experience, they've all been different. But yours was different than that. I was originally appointed, and mine, I did have to go to the select board, but you didn't go to the select board. did you?
No, the board requested that it go to the select board, and the select board said they
No,
didn't
thank
want to handle it, and so they didn't. But the statute clearly says within 5 days, the clerk of the board will notify the town. And then the select board can decide to make a recommendation or not, and then that it's the board's decision within 30 days. But again, I just thought adding it to the agenda before we had this discussion would make more sense than having the discussion before it's on the agenda.
So the motion on the table is to add to the agenda prior to board reorganization, a discussion and possible action on the addition of a Cavendish board member. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, and it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Roll call. All right, Rick,
Nay.
Jeff,
Nay.
Scott,
Nay.
Casey,
Done.
Katie,
No.
Lois.
I'm fine with the discussion,
So yes,
for the discussion.
the motion is a discussion and action.
Okay, then
She said yes, no, no. Clear, I just want to be clear because I'm transcribing for Amber too. No? Lisa?
Yes.
It's not here, and then Kate.
Yes.
2, 3, 6 nays, 1, 2 ayes. So the motion does not pass. Okay. I feel like I lost order here. So we have added the public announcement to under approval of the minutes. Is there any other additions or deletions to the approval of the agenda?
Well, I move that we have the conversation that we just talked about without vote.
I'll second that.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is to have a discussion about the approval of a Cavendish representative, discussion only.
Yep.
Where are you asking to have that added? Just that
It
reorganization?
could be before board, it could be right after the public announcement.
Okay. All right. So Lois made it, Scott, you seconded?
Yep.
All right, all in favor of discussion regarding the Cavendish representative being added to after the public announcement before board organization? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay. So now may I have a motion to put the agenda?
Move.
Who seconded?
Okay.
All in favor? Opposed?
Opposed.
I oppose too.
Okay, so roll call. So Rick,
Yep.
Jeff,
Yes.
Scott,
Yep.
Casey,
Approving the
Yes.
agenda.
Katie. Yes. Lois,
Yes.
Lisa, you said,
No.
and Kate.
No.
I just want to make sure to talk to someone. All right, so the agenda is approved, the additions and deletions. All right, approval of the minutes of the February 20th, 2025 meeting.
Someone. I'll second.
Seconded.
So I'm gonna go with Lois, and who wants to second? All in favor of approval of the minutes?
Adrian? Adrian,
Yes. Sorry,
I have a couple of corrections.
sure.
Under new business item 12, Cavendish Public Library agreement with GMUSD. Second sentence, it needs to have Mr. Millington noted that added to it. So Mr. Millington noted that within the current agreement. And then last sentence, but second line from the bottom of that paragraph, Cavendish should be capitalized.
Oh, in the minutes, okay, I'm sorry. I was looking on the agenda, because it was on the agenda, that's what was throwing me. So you've noted the changes you're gonna make to the minutes?
Yes,
Okay, all right, did everyone hear them? I have a hard time hearing them. Okay,
Could you
okay.
repeat them?
Briefly.
yeah, I can repeat them.
Hear it,
So
okay.
under section number 12, new business, item A, Cavendish Public Library agreement with GMUSD. The second sentence begins currently within the current agreement between. It should say, Mr. Millington noted that within the current agreement between. So adding those 4 words. And then in the last sentence, second line from the bottom, however, the Cavendish students, Cavendish should be capitalized.
Okay, all right, thank you for noticing that and changing that. All right, so everyone's heard those?
Yep. Yes.
All right, so approval of the minutes with the proposed changes.
So moved.
Sorry.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I am abstaining because I was not here.
Okay. No, it's right. Okay. All right, so then the public announcement, let's see, so we are making a public announcement of a board vacancy and appointment and the appointment process. It's happening due to Steve Crony's departure. We want to inform the Cavendish community to apply by submitting a statement of interest and their qualifications to the superintendent no later than March 31st. And then the superintendent will then forward submitted statements of interest to the Cavendish Select Board, giving them the opportunity to provide input on the applicants. And then the board, and this will be something we have to vote on, the board would like to hold a meeting on April 8th to interview the candidates and vote on appointing a new board member. Sorry, excuse me. So that was the announcement that I wanted to make. Does anybody have any questions about that?
I have a question about why I don't know all of the ins and outs of this, but why was that notification not done earlier?
This is the first board meeting we've had to do the announcement.
So
And
it
once-
had to be at a public board meeting, it couldn't be like through the paper of record or the way we do warnings and such?
So this way, the information is out there. The board is doing its due diligence to make sure that as many people as possible are hearing that there's a vacancy. And it's also approving the process so that I can put the letter together that'll go to the newspaper with the process in it for people to follow. Because until the board agrees on the process, there isn't one.
I mean, we've done it several times over even in the course of the years that I've been on the board, following the statute. And so I don't understand why, you were talking about not rushing the process. It's feeling like this is delaying the process unnecessarily, which leaves the town of Cavendish underrepresented, which feels problematic to me. So I would argue that we not do board reorganization tonight, and we have the public comment, and we adjourn this meeting, and we have our meeting with allowing for Cavendish to be a part of, to be fully represented at our next meeting. We have our select board chair who has made a recommendation in writing, a person, we have an interested person. And if we need to have this time delay of allowing for more interested people, then I think that we should not be making any major decisions without full representation from Cavendish.
So you would like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Yeah. I make a motion to adjourn until Cavendish can be fully represented.
Second.
So the motion on the table is to adjourn this meeting until Cavendish can be represented. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Actually, I agree.
Okay, roll call. So Rick,
Nay.
Jeff,
Nay, we don't adjourn meetings when somebody's sick.
let's get through this. Scott,
Nay.
Casey,
Nay.
Katie,
Nay.
Lois,
I,
yay or nay?
yay.
Thank you. Lisa
Yes.
and Kate.
Yes.
All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's so many votes now. 5 nays and 1, 2, 3 yeas. Is that correct? So the motion does not pass.
So going back to the announcement in the statute, what the statute requires is that the board notifies the select board or notifies Cavendish, and that has been done the same day of the vote. And then that the select board can make a recommendation to the board if it so wishes, but it's the select board in Cavendish that's responsible for having that open process and making sure that people who are interested have that opportunity. And that piece has been done. And so I would ask that the letter from the Cavendish Select Board be read as part of this announcement.
Are we in discussion? Or this is just a motion?
We haven't, there wasn't a formal move to it, but we can move into the discussion.
The law is actually pretty clear, and I'll read it to you. After providing notice and after consultation with the select board, The only way that we can have consultation with the select board is if everybody who is interested in applying has put in their application so that we can consult with them about who has applied and who may be best suited. So again, I worry because I don't want to be put into a position where things may be unethical. And it really feels like folks are trying to ram somebody through really quickly without providing Cavendish, the town, the opportunity to be able to apply for this position if they would like. There may be no applicants, but there is a responsibility on behalf of the district and on behalf of the school board to make sure that people have an opportunity to apply. And because the announcement about the process is only being discussed now, that has not occurred.
So the law that's very clear, and were you going to read that?
I've read the piece that is of concern right now. Which part would you like me to read?
I don't need you to. I just thought you said that you would read it.
I did. Within 30 days after providing notice and after consultation, the Unified Union Square District Board shall appoint. So they have to have the consultation with the select board before they can appoint anyone.
And the select board was aware that there wasn't a member from Cavendish.
You said they sent a letter suggesting a recommendation, so apparently they're aware.
Yes, and that they have, after being made aware that the position was open, they have made a acknowledgement of the applications that they received.
The applications come to us to consult with the select board. The select board has a right in an advisory capacity, but not in a. And again, the piece I think I'm most concerned about is I am not hearing a willingness to allow the members of the Cavendish community the opportunity to also apply should they so desire. That's a concern.
I would just like to say that we live in Cavendish and we've been talking with Cavendish residents since the election because wasn't going to be somebody. The people in Cavendish know there's a vacancy and the people in Cavendish want to be represented. So I take a little bit of offense of you saying that it is, we're trying to ram somebody through or we're not giving the people of Cavendish, due process. I appreciate we can take the time and do the thing and make it formal. And the reality is the people in Cavendish know. We've been talking about it for well over a month now. And it is, it's a small town. We've been talking about it. I don't need any more about that. I appreciate the formality of it, but the way you're speaking about it is
I think it's important for the town of Cavendish to be able to speak for themselves on this issue.
that's fine.
And it's kind of required.
They won't be
Right, so
meeting
that's-
before
that
the-
is
This is not public
different.
So that's what we're trying to make sure, what I'm recommending and trying to make sure. And in my professional opinion, the attempt tonight, and again, I'm not saying it's intentional, but the intent tonight would not allow the town folk of Cavendish to decide if some of them would like to apply and be up for this position.
That is a much different way of saying what you said than people trying to ram a candidate down our throats or whatever it is you said.
That's not
You
quite
said,
what I
you used
said.
the word ram.
Yes, I did, but I didn't say
I
down
think-
your throats.
But it was evoking an offensive response from me, and I would
So-
appreciate that it.
So I
The
was.
intentions of this are not to ram anybody through anything. It is to have Cavendish be represented.
My last comment is I have a right to express my opinion, which I did.
As do I.
The second piece that I am concerned about was, I asked directly if the purpose of the motion was to appoint someone. You said no. And then you turned around and we're talking about trying to appoint someone again.
So I very specifically said the purpose of the motion was to add that item to the agenda.
Discussion and action.
Yes, which it was. That was all I was, that was the motion, was to add it to the agenda.
But again, I just want to point out that it sounds like, and I may be wrong, so hopefully clarify for everyone, is the intent to try to appoint someone tonight?
I don't know. Like, I don't have the intention.
Is the intent to ask for that? Because it sounds like that's what's being asked for. Because I think it's important for the town of Cavendish to know.
If the law,
Casey's had his.
oh,
hand up.
sorry, Casey.
Yeah, and I'll stop.
Oh, I just wanted to add from my experience with union involvement and activity, I've seen almost the same scenario play through with appointments to bargaining teams and committees. And this kind of same, and I heard, I think Kate, you said it, like it's been done several different ways in your time. And like this, it's Groundhog Day for me, having been through some of the stuff with the union. And my takeaway from that whole process was, if there is a formal process, following that is important because it leads to continued efficacy in the system. And as soon as we start breaking that down, the trust and legitimacy falls apart. And that's where I really hung up on this tonight when you asked for a motion on discussion and action. And so I'm really open to discussion. I thought I understood this, and then there's some conflicting information and opinions. Maybe I would like to understand better. And if there is a formal process, I think it's important that that's followed all the way through. And then going forward, that's the policy and the practice. Consistency is important. Policies are important for these things. Like I said, I've seen this play out in other ways, and it becomes this. Now it's contentious. Now it's getting counterproductive. Whereas if there's a policy and a procedure, we should just stick to that for consistency and efficacy's sake and let it run its course. We've gotten not far on the agenda, so actually we've just added things and spun our wheels in a contentious manner at this point. So I'd like, that's my position. I have no interest in taking action on this without complete understanding of the policy and process, and that's where I'm at. I need to understand, and I'd like to stick to that for efficacy's sake.
Yeah, I agree with you. If there's a formal process, we should follow it. I think there was a disagreement about what the formal process is, and so the hope was to discuss it. And if at the end of that discussion, the formal process allowed for taking action, we wanted to be able to take action. I think the idea of misunderstanding intentions or trying to make this something that it's not is what has gotten this contentious. We just want Cavendish to be represented. That's it. And if we had the opportunity to, I'll only speak for myself. If I had the opportunity to appoint somebody tonight who wanted to be on the board and that was legal and it was the right process and we all agreed, then I would say, yes, let's do it. If it wasn't the right thing to do, it wasn't the right process, it wasn't legal to do, then I would not do it. But not being given the opportunity and having intentions interpreted is what has made it feel contentious to me.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I very much want to follow the formal process. And I think that the disagreement was about what that formal process is and whether it has been met. And so I think the discussion of what is the process and has it been met is a really important one before doing anything else.
Is there any more discussion on this?
So I would say that my understanding is that the process has been met because the town of Cavendish was notified that there's an open position and would like to, has written a letter to make to express what the select board as representatives of the town of Cavendish want. And that it would be great to read that. Yeah, my understanding is that that is the formal process.
So do you want to read the letter?
I don't have the letter, but I would
don't know.
request that it be
Or
read. if it can.
Just the one concern was the letter voted on by the select board.
I have to be.
It doesn't have to be voted
Again,
on,
not
it's
public
in your
comments.
email, open your email.
public comments.
Only reason I'm asking is because a board has to act in unison as one, once a vote has been taken. If this is just the opinion of a few people on the board or one person on the board, they are not speaking for the select board without that vote.
The whole board voted.
It is not one person.
But again, did the board vote and was there a majority to speak on behalf of the board?
I think what he's asking, was it in the agenda on one of your Cavendish Town meetings? That's what. Yeah.
No, it was not at a meeting.
So if it wasn't at a meeting, then it was
Wouldn't have been voted
publicly
on.
warned. If you have a town meeting,
Correct, but
It's gonna be
there's
publicly
nothing in the formal legal process that
but
requires.
you're claiming that all of Cavendish is speaking up for one person.
No,
No,
I am claiming that
And
there
that
is
it's
a
warned
letter.
publicly. It's not warned publicly until it's in the select board, actually warns it on Chester Telegraph or whatever.
The data
On their
feed won't
agenda.
allow for that either.
Again, if the public, no, the
Why
public
don't you
needs
let
to
the public
stop.
speak?
There'll be an opportunity, but not while the board is discussing. So please, I'm
I mean,
just gonna
that's,
ask you to
that's
continue
my
to refrain.
concern is it, has it gone all through Cavendish?
I'm just gonna clear the room if the public can't stop. I want there to be a conversation that can happen, and interrupting from public is not helping the situation at all.
And my only purpose is just trying to make sure that we're meeting what the regs require.
And I think we are actually in agreement about that we
Yeah.
want to follow the process.
I'm just asking if that's how
Yeah.
it's, I mean, I sat through Katie's in Chester because I was doing something for Andover in Chester and I watched how they did it. And it's,
But again, as Casey
It was
pointed
warned.
out, having done it lots of different ways before, we can't just go back to those past examples of what was done. And my understanding of what is required, it doesn't say anywhere in the statute that this has to be part of a warned meeting or part of a formal meeting of any kind. And that can be a difference. We can disagree on that and, but I'm not trying to pull anything over or push anything through, or I'm just saying my understanding of the statute that I read is that the process is the town being notified that has happened. And the town, through its select board, have a say if they want to in what goes forward, even though the vote is clearly completely in the hands of the board.
I think what Scott's trying to say is, like, I'll use myself as an example. I submitted my letter of interest to Lauren, I think it was at the time, to Lauren. And that was then conferred to the select board, right? And I had to go to the select board meeting. I had to be interviewed by the select board. I was on the agenda. Ben and I were on the agenda as, like, this is what we're doing. And I think that's Scott's question, right?
That's it.
Like, just,
That's all I'm
was
saying.
this
Was it in a
the
meeting
process that
done
happened?
the correct way?
If that was not done, but it actually isn't a
So you're
requirement. Like when I was appointed, the Cavendish Select Board declined to have input on that. So it was not on an agenda. The people who write the Cavendish Select Board agendas said, nope, we declined to do that.
So the Cavendish Select Board didn't put it on the agenda to vote yay or nay for another representative to come forward during the meeting,
Correct.
then that's not,
not for Lisa.
Not that, that's what happened. They were consulted, as is required in the statute, and they declined to offer input.
So there isn't a select board meeting, a cabinet select board meeting before the next GMUSD meeting when we're having this conversation. When did we say?
April 8th.
Right, so I don't know when the cabinet select board meeting is, but I believe it's after the 8th.
The 15th.
And so can we have a consultation with the select board in between this meeting and the 8th so that we don't have to do this again on the 8th? That we can actually have had the consultation and don't have another month go by. Because I think that was also our issue, is that it's just a delay before they meet. And so it would be several months before but they won't have had a meeting, so it won't be on an agenda and it won't be a vote, but
That's my
the
concern.
board chair can, I don't know, if the board chair can speak
If,
to that.
if your board's gonna make a vote, they have to, if there's any action on anything in the town, it has to be warned.
But they don't have to take action on this. We just have to consult with them.
But if they're going to,
Right.
if they're making a legal vote saying, oh, if you're sitting here saying that they voted unanimously for you,
Yeah.
We-
Yeah,
we-
totally.
Yeah.
That's not a thing. But the idea being they won't have a meeting. So they would have to either call a special meeting or it can be a consultation with the board chair to say, are you going to put this on an agenda? Could you call a special meeting or will this be delayed further?
So if they have an interest in consultation after everybody who, wants to apply has applied, then that's what they would do, is they'd call a special meeting, for that purpose.
And what if they don't have an interest in consultation?
Then they
Do we
can,
just
then
go
they
forward and
communicate that and we move forward as per the process. That's
But
the way
you'll-
to
Who
handle
do
it.
they, let me ask a question, who do they communicate that with?
It could be you or me.
And you?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
but they can do a special meeting. Just
They
about-
could, I just
I was
don't
I was on
think
the select
that's,
board in Andover, they can do a special meeting with a 24-hour notice, that's all they need.
yeah, I just don't think I don't think there's gonna be many candidates. I mean, maybe there will be more people and that would be lovely if there are more people who are interested. And if judging by how it was last time, they didn't have a meeting or vote on it. They
Right.
just,
Lisa, I have a question, because I
Sure. Maybe
remember
we did.
when you came to the board, there were two candidates. You were not the only candidate. We voted between you and somebody else.
Yeah.
So at some point,
No, we didn't go between two.
yes, we
Yeah, we
did.
did.
We interviewed two candidates. I remember that very.
Right.
So that's just it's not that's just not lining up for me, only because there were two candidates, so,
but they didn't come from the select board.
okay.
And in
It's just
fact,
two people sent interest.
the two people was before the select board was consulted at all. And then,
Okay.
once it went to the select board, the other candidate withdrew. And then the select board chose not to act. So the select board never had it on an agenda.
Okay. But I do remember
Yep.
that we interviewed two candidates at that meeting.
Okay, Amber has her hand up.
I was just going to add that the second candidate withdrew before this board voted.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I thought. We didn't.
No,
Yeah, because I believe we
interviewed.
voted to
We
send it back to the
voted.
select board.
Yeah.
We voted, we were split.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, I
We
just
did
want to
vote.
make sure that I'm remembering correctly.
Raise your hand up or you just hold your hand
I was just gonna say, again, like having seen almost same process for very similar circumstances, putting it out publicly or to whoever the representative group is formally and giving everyone the opportunity formally, noticing it and then going through that process, because like I said, I've seen this go both ways and that turned into, no, we have bylaws that we actually didn't follow for the last couple of years, but we will now. I don't want to go down that road. I'd like to see this go out publicly, give everyone more notice and the opportunity. Maybe it is the same person that you're talking about right now, nothing changes. But there's value to me in doing that, giving people the opportunity. And then, yeah, I don't, like I said,
ethically responsible.
I agree with that, and I believe the statute says that should have been done within 5 days of notification. So that it's hard to sit with the fact that it's been this long since the election. I don't point fingers at anybody. I have no idea what should have been done, but we're now many, many, many days beyond the election. So it just feels like more time has gone by, whereas it would have been lovely if that public notification went out right away so that we could have taken action and not gone without representation. But-
So just as point of clarification on that, the notification goes to the select board, not to the general populace to, apply for the position. So it's not, I may be wrong, but what I'm hearing is it sounds like you're saying that the notice was supposed to go out to Cavendish. It wasn't. The law says to the select board.
So and then you're saying the notice went to the select board?
Yeah, my understanding is on the night of the election, folks knew. Because there was communication back and forth trying to figure out who was voted in, who was not. So yes.
So now I'm just confused again as to what we have to do now. I thought we just did the public notice.
This is the public notice, but that's not in the law. The piece that you were talking about was notice within 5 days. That's to the select board, not to the community of Cavendish.
Okay, so it's, but the public notice going out earlier.
We have to get it done, if that's the process that the board chooses to do, in time to be able to make a decision by the 30th after consulting with the select board. And they may choose not to have input. That's their right.
So the legal process doesn't require the public announcement?
Yeah.
So what is the board policy then? Like, is it, do we have one?
The-
No, there's no
No,
policy.
this is,
Statute.
this is justice and fairness. And justice and fairness means that you have a policy that everybody understands and is followed for everybody. And so that's what we are establishing. That is a requirement here. Because in that way, it ensures that everybody is treated equally.
Which I'm completely on board with. But if it's also the case that we are following the statute, that we do not have a policy, how is Cavendish supposed to know what it is we're supposed to do, either before now or now, in order to have representation on board?
Because you are announcing the policy tonight, if that goes through, so that people know how to apply if they want to. And so the town of Cavendish knows what the process is to decide who is appointed.
Can I ask a question? If the select board was notified, right, somebody's got a question for a few months. Select board was notified. Does the select board have any duty to notify the town? Like, so,
Not under the law.
not at all, okay.
Somebody needs to, and so in consultation with legal counsel a few years back, it's us.
If the select board took a vote, they have to legally have a meeting.
Yeah. But
That's what I'm saying.
the piece about the vote, I think, got confused too, because where that conversation started was people, and again, what I heard, and if I'm wrong, I'm happy to be corrected. What I heard was people saying, we have a letter from the select board that says, basically, this is what we want to do. And my point was, unless the select board voted, the select board did not speak.
That's what I'm trying to say.
The board chair sent an email,
So
basically acknowledging that they've received a letter and they support that the candidacy of that person. But they didn't send it to the board, they sent it to the candidate.
I'm not sure what that, again, I'm responding to the letter piece and just trying to clear up that confusion.
Okay.
Folks were saying there was a letter there that said, the select board had made a statement. And my point being is unless the select board has voted, they can't make a statement. It's not a statement. It's a personal opinion from the chair, but it's not a statement from the select board.
So my understanding is that's what the select board was deciding to do, given that they don't have any legal obligation to meet about this or vote on it. That the select board was deciding, they've been informed, and what they want to do is provide a letter that says.
But they jumped ahead of the process. There is a responsibility to notify Cavendish so that people can apply who are interested.
So I guess that's what I'm confused about, because we just said that in the statute, when the select board was notified, that they didn't have to notify all of them.
But we have a responsibility, if we're filling a seat on the board, to make sure that all the folks in Cavendish who have an interest in the school district have an opportunity to apply if they want. And all the parts and pieces I'm hearing here seem to be, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, trying to avoid that.
No, not at all. You are wrong.
So then we should be able to move forward now. Because we're agreeing that, based upon what you just said, we are agreeing that the town of Cavendish has a right to be notified.
Absolutely.
So then we should be able to move forward. I think the piece is solved.
I disagree with that part. So I still don't know what is the policy.
There is no statutory requirement for a board to have a policy on this. We have a requirement to be ethical, fair, and just. And ethical, fair, and just means putting forth a procedure that everybody has an opportunity to understand and everybody has an opportunity to follow. That's what makes it fair and just, and make sure that we're doing our due diligence and our job on behalf of the communities.
So what does that look like in order to get representation?
She was reading it. I don't remember where we got to. It was a little while ago. Did you get to the point where that was voted on, or were we still reading?
Oh, we voted on adding it to the agenda. I read it, and then we kind of bumped into.
Might be good to read it again, so people can understand what the procedure is. Or
All
the,
right, so this is a public announcement of board vacancy and appointment. This announcement is that there is a vacancy on the board due to Steve Connie's departure. The board is informing and inviting interested members of the town of Cavendish to apply by submitting a statement of interest and their qualifications to the superintendent no later than March 31st. The superintendent will then forward submitted statements, of interest to the Cavendish Select Board, giving them the opportunity to provide input on the applicants. And then the school board could have a special meeting on April 8th to interview candidates and vote on appointing a new board member.
So because this is red, is this now board policy? It's proposed policy or?
it's a procedure that the board has the opportunity to vote on, to say, this is what we are going to follow to make sure that this is fair and just. You could choose a different procedure. But again, the reason that I'm concerned is I definitely don't want to be put in a position where I am asked to carry out something that's unethical. And not notifying the entirety of the town of Cavendish and giving folks there an opportunity to apply, in my mind, is unethical.
I agree. That's exactly what I was talking about with my prior experiences in similar situations. It's fair, in my mind, and if we could make this a policy and then we have consistency to follow, I support that as well.
Yeah, I certainly appreciate having a policy so that we could know in advance what to follow. I think not having a candidate when we voted in Cavendish was very clear notice to Cavendish that there wasn't a candidate. There wasn't a candidate if you were interested to step forward. And so I do feel that the spirit of fairness and openness and transparency have been met. And that what I'm not understanding is how the formality of this announcement, as opposed to knowing there was no one running for the seat, is better, more thorough communication with the town. And if the people in Cavendish have had an opportunity to know that the seat was vacant and to put themselves forward, the delay feels like just wanting to delay and not have representation from Cavendish. And that doesn't feel fair.
So, well, I'd like to speak on that one, because just as you guys didn't like feeling someone was saying, you're trying to do something, I think that is back towards us, but nobody's trying to delay anything. You know, I don't even, over the next 2 months, anticipate there being much of anything happening on the board in regards to big votes. So I don't think the board as a whole is trying to prevent Cavendish from having representation. I think just on that line, really feel strongly that we need to recenter on the fact that while we're elected by towns, we do not represent the individual towns in regards to, you know, you guys only represent Cavendish. We are here to represent every student in our district, as opposed to Chester and over Baltimore. So I'm asking the board to really step away from that mentality because I think it sets us up for this sort of thing every single time. I am in agreement with Casey. I feel like, you know, while there isn't a formal policy, I am all for setting one because I love transparency. I love knowing what the rules are ahead of time. And to summarize, you know, just to maybe kind of move this along because we are an hour into the meeting and we haven't even gotten to 3.
Agreed.
I do not believe, if I'm reading the room right, that there is going to be a vote. Thank you. I don't believe that there is going to be a vote for a Cavendish representative tonight. I think we've all agreed that there is going to be the development of policy, which I think we could probably do during our policy work session. Like that can be something that can be added somewhere.
Policy governance.
Mhm.
Yes, as part of the new policy.
Exactly.
governance,
So I think that moving forward, we can take this as like a learning moment for the board. You know, everybody understanding that nobody's trying to pull fast ones on either side. And then I'd just like to move forward with this meeting, if that's possible at this point. I think we are literally beating a dead horse. We've heard you, people have made their statements. There was no vote, there's not going to be an action. So the discussion has happened. Is there more discussion that you feel needs to happen about this?
I want to say something about the, and when I joined the board, and this is now my 3rd term, this was not the way it was. Marilyn was chairperson at that time. We were a board. Kate was on the board. It wasn't Cavendish versus Chester. It was all about the children. And in the last couple of years, it's become very divisive. And I just would hope that we could let go of that and move forward and work for the children of our community, because that's what we're here. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Okay. So with that, are we able to conclude the discussion regarding the Cavendish representative that was added? Or is there more? Chuck is not doing this, right? Okay. So if there's no more discussion, we'll move into board organization, reorganization, sorry. Can't get something into my mouth now. So you have to take over for this part of it.
Yeah, and again, we'll talk about basic sorry.
I was just going to ask if we could delay board reorganization, like leave the organization like it is until we have full representation.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
So Lisa's made a motion to delay reorganization of the board until Cavendish has a representation, full representation. Is there a second?
Second.
So moved by Lisa, seconded by Kate. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Rick?
Nay.
Jeff?
Nay.
Casey?
Nay.
Scott?
Nay.
Katie?
Yay.
Sorry. Yes. You are in favor of it? Yay. Lois?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
And Kate?
Yes.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's what? I vote nay. I want to move forward. All right, so that was 5 no's, 4 yays. The motion doesn't pass. Okay. Moving forward now.
So just as we kind of discussed, we always try to put the procedures out front so everybody is aware. For the board chair and for the other votes that will happen, if there are multiple candidates nominated, the process is that the board votes on the candidates in the order that they were nominated until one of the candidates receives a majority. So if the first candidate nominated, if we vote and the board has a majority, then it stops at that point. That's the normal procedure, so just so folks are clear. So
Does everybody understand that?
I don't understand.
It's different than what we've done
Right.
before. Do you want to re-explain it?
And is this, so this is different than we've done before? So is this a new policy that has been approved by the policy committee, or is this something that you're bringing?
it's a procedure that's vetted by legal counsel. Because there needs to be a procedure that's followed. And so this is the procedure that they have told us is appropriate. Is there confusion or is there, because I can try to,
This is not the way we've done it before, so I can feel confused about what you're proposing.
I don't know what's happened in the past. It may have been right, it may not, I don't know. So I do apologize for that.
If we had more than two candidates or two nominations, we wrote it on a post-it notes.
Yeah.
That's how it's.
Where'd Cheryl go?
Straight down.
Oh, same. Cheryl, like I
So if somebody wants to make a motion to go back to what you did, I am not sure if it is proper through the state of Vermont and through the, what's the name of the little book that we use to guide the Robert's rules.
I don't know.
So I don't know for sure.
I don't care doing something different, I just didn't understand what you were saying, because I thought I knew what we were doing because of what we've always done, so I just need you to reiterate what you said, so I can understand.
Yeah, no, because it is a little, when they described it to me the first time, it took me a little while to understand it. So let's say there are 3 nominations. So what happens is that you look at the person who is nominated first. The board does a vote on that. If there is not a majority, you move on to the second person.
It's a yes, no vote.
That continues until there's a majority. So let's say the first person nominated gets the majority, then that's when things stop. If the second person is the one that gets the majority, that's when the process would stop.
And if nobody gets the majority?
Somebody has to.
Probably would go back and read. It's a good
If we
question.
vote on each one individually, then no, no one would have to do.
It's possible, then we would go back and revote until we did. Because you can't function without your. It's kind of like they did in the Congress a while back when they couldn't get the speaker. They
Right.
couldn't move on until they did.
17 times.
No.
So I'll,
I just want to make
Yeah, go
sure,
ahead.
like, are we good with that? How do people feel?
Yes.
So everyone understands and is okay with the process? Just want to make sure I don't want to move forward and have hiccups.
okay. So open for nominations for board chair. Are there nominations?
I nominate Adrian Williams as board chair.
And seconded.
Are there other nominations?
So I'm sorry, I just have a quick question. Are we still doing paper votes or is it open votes?
Open votes.
Okay.
So right now, we're just trying to see if there's multiple nominations.
Okay. Okay.
So hearing none. Adrian has been nominated. Is there a motion to accept her as board chair?
Yes.
Is there a second? Discussion? Hearing no discussion, how many are in favor? How many nays? And any abstentions? So you are board chair. I hand it back.
Thank you. Amber, are you hearing everything?
It's got to be recorded.
Sorry, yes, I am. I couldn't get off
Just
mute.
want to make sure, 'cause there's just been so much.
She would let you know.
Okay. So, may I have a nomination for vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Jeff Hand.
Jeff Hans.
Second.
See, are there any other nominations?
No.
There's no other nominations for vice chair. All in favor of Jeff Hans?
Aye.
Opposed? So, and abstentions?
I didn't vote. Not abstaining.
No. I think that's an abstention.
No,
It is.
I had a question, but we've already voted, so going back to discussion doesn't make sense, so I will abstain.
Okay. Okay, so Jeff Hans is the vice chair. For clerk, may I have a nomination, please?
What does the clerk do again?
You've been the clerk, haven't you?
Not
Or was it
As Lois
no,
was.
Yeah.
No,
it's
I
been-
was the vice chair.
Who is clerk
That
this
time
past
I
year?
was
Amber. I think is it Amber?
You were also,
It's,
you were vice.
No, it's not me. I'm the district clerk. I'm not the board clerk. The board clerk is a board member.
I mean, I think it's signed a couple of
signing a
papers.
couple, signing the warrants.
It's
Correct.
warrants,
it's the,
No, that's the
No.
warrant sign.
Okay, there we go. So the clerk signs the tax anticipation note, and what we learned today notifies the select board when there's a vacancy.
Okay,
All right,
all right, I'll be the clerk.
okay. So is there a nomination for Lois to be?
Nominate second.
That's a lot, so who? All right, all in favor of Lois being our clerk?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Abstentions? Okay, Lois is our clerk. Warrant signers. Huh? Yeah. He's not here. I don't know if he would be willing to accept nomination. I think the process has been simplified greatly. And I do, in my heart of hearts, believe it should be something that gets rotated for the reason that you see what's on our warrants. Like you have an understanding of what we're actually paying for.
I did it.
Yeah, so it's prior to this, you had to go to the TRSU, every other week and sign. Now it's PDFs and online. So it's not time consuming. I do recommend that everyone takes a shot. I get turn at it.
So
And I can be backup, but I would prefer the other people.
what is the process now? Because remember the first time this was discussed, it was trips to
It's not that
central office on
anymore.
a weekly basis. I'm like, I can't miss work.
No, it's not.
Go
It's
sign stuff
completely
every-
online. And then if you have questions, you can either go in or you can discuss with Cheryl over the phone. But you are sent the warrants in a confidential email. And then we said they just switched over. It was on PandaDoc where your electronic signature could be taken. There's a new process now, but it's still electronic. So it'd still be a simplified, non-super time. I mean, you still have to look at them, but it's not that you're making decisions. You have to look at them. If there's questions, if you're questioning something, then, you call Cheryl. And then you sign them.
So what's the turnaround frequency on these roughly?
What do you mean?
Like, how often are the warrants coming through that I would need to digest and assign them?
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks?
And once you get kind of used to what you're looking at, it takes 10 minutes max to read them all. And
We don't send out vendor checks until we have one.
You're signing 2 weeks. You're signing those.
Right, that's what I'm trying to understand the full scope of it.
Yeah.
I did it when you had to drive to the office and
So
it's
did I.
still like 10 minutes, 20 minutes. If it's electronic,
it's even
it's
faster.
even faster. And it's.
Yeah, it's like the first
It's
couple
every other
times.
week, right?
Yeah, and the first couple times, like, you're probably going to, like.
What is this? What am I
questions, Yeah,
doing?
like, what does this mean?
I'm just
But
like,
after
if
that-
I forget or something happens at work.
Then
They won't let
I-
you
the
forget.
Bills don't get paid.
They don't let you forget.
Yes, you won't.
You want me to nominate you?
Not really. To be honest, I want to help pull my weight around here, but trying to be pragmatic about it. And
It's Kate.
Huh? I'm happy to do it. I've done it before though, so it wouldn't make any, but I'm happy to do
I
it.
nominate Kate.
Okay. Seconded?
I'll
Casey.
second.
You do not want this.
Okay.
I can't tell if we're still vacillating there.
Yeah, I mean, not terribly.
Okay, all right, let's just move on then. Okay, so we have a nomination for Kate to be warrant signer. And second,
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
Kate for doing that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Kate is our
You'll be
warrant
the alternate.
signer. Recording secretary.
Amber.
That's Amber.
So we have a nomination made by Scott, seconded by Lois, for Amber Wilson to be our recording secretary. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Amber want it?
You gotta say no now.
Too late.
Thank you, Amber.
Thank you, Amber.
Amber, I'm assuming you do accept?
Thank you, yes.
Okay, now we're gonna move into board representatives. So we have, an opening for TRSU. I'm sorry, how many? Three. Two and an alternate. Right, two and an alternate. And then we have RBTC, because Lois has asked to.
Yeah, I've done it for 6 years. I'm done.
It's three, isn't it?
No.
No, I'm talking about the TRSU board.
I
It's
was
three.
interested in doing the
It's three and an alternate.
RBTC.
You'll enjoy it.
I'm saying, yeah, it's three with an alternate, sorry, you're correct.
I
Okay, well,
go, but I
Yeah,
have to go.
I would be, unless somebody else wants it.
Amber is saying TRSU is.
Yeah, I actually.
You got it?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so let's get TRSU done and then we'll move into RBTC before I change. Okay, so, nominations or are there people that are interested?
I'll stay on it.
I'm willing to stay on.
Yes, I would nominate Scott.
Scott and Lisa.
And Lisa.
One more. And Adrian, you were on that, so I'll nominate you.
That's fine, I'm happy. I enjoy it.
And Jeff's alternate, still want that?
Unless somebody, well, not really, but if.
I would like this, I definitely would like the board to share the wealth just because
I'll be an alternate.
you'll be the alternate.
Okay.
All right. Everyone good with that?
So do we need
I'll-
a formal nomination?
I don't know for representatives, because they're not like, sure, let's do it. So we have a nomination for Lisa, Scott, and myself as the 3 board members, and Kate, sorry, as the alternate for TRSU.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so those are set.
Adrian,
Yes.
did you say Kate or Katie?
Katie.
Thank you.
All right, RBTC.
So I nominate Kate.
I second.
Okay, all in favor of Kate being the RBTC board representative? Opposed? All right, Kate. Bargaining council. So currently,
Well,
For-
it's Lisa and me right now.
yep, I was, okay, for teacher, do you guys?
Yeah, well, we're in the
still-
middle of it. We can't quit now.
Will you want to maintain that after this? Because then it goes, what,
Well, it's
3 years,
2 more
right?
years.
So,
It's 2 years from now, so that's a long time from now.
So we're good.
So
So-
for right now, we're good.
okay, so we'll vote to keep Lois and Lisa on as teacher bargaining. Is that? Okay. All in favor, let's just keep it consistent.
Aye.
Opposed? And then for the bargaining council for support staff is Rick and Katie Murphy. If you guys want to maintain.
They will be
Yep.
active. We will be bargaining.
All right, so, let's do some motion please for that. So,
I move that we support Casey and. No,
Katie.
Katie and Rick. Sorry, I'm looking at
Thank
Casey.
you.
all right, all in favor of Katie and Rick being the bargaining council for support staff?
Aye.
Opposed?
Got it.
We go into subcommittee assignments, unless someone feels strongly about leaving the committees, I don't think we need to go through them all, if you're all aware of like who's on them. Unless you want off or you want to change them. Is there any changes that people want to make?
Has facilities been happening? I'm on that committee, but I haven't been doing.
We've been following the superintendent's lead with the transition.
Okay.
And is transportation something?
I think,
I thought that kind of
I
went
think
with
that kind of
policy
got, I think
governance,
that kind of got bumped though, didn't it? Wasn't there discussion that that wasn't really happening?
That was my understanding, but that
Okay.
really fell into the policy governance piece of,
Right.
you shouldn't have to ready for that.
Right.
So as a board, we're in agreement, we're gonna get rid of the transportation
Okay.
committee.
Okay.
Um,
And I thought we had a legislative committee.
we do, it's meeting
Next week, and that's not on,
I believe it's the
it's on
27th.
the chart.
Steve was on
Does somebody want to take Steve's spot?
I would be interested in taking that, but I would need to come off this. I do RDTC.
Okay. All right, so looking at your charts, is there any other changes that anyone would like to propose to our subcommittees?
I would like if anybody is able and willing to join the community outreach committee, just to have one more, because between me and Chuck, like, it's great, it's conversation, but it would be nice if there was just a little bit more to go off of it
Is there anyone that is willing to volunteer for that?
We meet,
virtually.
I'll give it a try. I mean,
They're usually pretty quick, like half hour, but,
They're
I don't
fun.
think we've- yeah, they're fun.
They are.
all right, well, you can put me down and we'll see how it goes.
It was just awesome. I appreciate it. It'd just be nice to get more ideas because it's just been me and Tuck and Lane.
Okay, I'm just gonna repeat this out loud so that it's clear for the recording and for Amber. So Kate Lampier is coming off of facilities. She is joining legislative. Oh, I'm sorry, we do have, there really isn't going to be, is there gonna be a policy committee anymore? Lane,
What's that?
the policy, because we're doing policy governance, it's no more
We
of a,
still have those,
the tier issue.
those state things that we have, but don't we still have that, we still have to have.
Still have that,
Yeah.
is the tier issue policy committee meetings.
So, well, we meet rarely, but we meet.
Okay, all right,
So the other way that you could do it with the policy piece is, one of your policies would be, it's my job to notify the board if something needs to be changed or if there's been a mandate. And then I get the language either from the VSBA or from legal counsel, and then I bring it before the full board to review.
So we don't need a policy.
is that a fire?
Okay, so I would be very happy.
Hold on a second.
Carla.
I didn't know they had those anymore.
It's a car alarm.
It's not mine.
It's looking usual.
Perfect.
I would
Maybe
be
my
happy
colleagues.
not to have a policy.
Not to, or
Yeah.
to.
No, I mean, I'm on that policy committee. I go when there's a meeting, but I would be more than happy not to.
And this way, the full board would have the two reads and see it, have an opportunity to ask questions before you vote it.
How does the board feel about
At
that?
least
Yeah,
it's
is that
on
the
it too.
TRSU policy?
No,
board,
no,
or is
that's
this-
what you've been doing online. You and I have been doing.
Yeah, but that's the TRSU policy.
No,
right?
that's yeah, it is, yes. We have representatives from the
So
other.
he would bring it to the
schools, too.
board.
Yes, it's the TRSU policy.
Yeah. So like if it still happened, like the tier, she
Now
would
we
still have their
don't have
votes,
it.
he would bring it to this
Or
board.
just bring it to the board for us to vote. That would be fine. with
That
me.
seems fine.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, we are getting rid of the policy committee as it stands. We're gonna be, since we're moving forward into policy governance, we will all be involved in developing the policies for GMUSD. And then, Lane will bring TRSU policies forward to us for first and second. Okay, all right, so we're gonna get rid of that. All right, we discussed sport support, teacher, community outreach. Thank you for joining that, Lois. And Kate for RBTC.
We have
Okay.
a facilities only three now.
Four as well. Oh, sorry, I didn't say. Forgot Steve out there. Well,
I'd be willing to join.
facilities. All right, so Lisa
More about
Sanders
plumbing
has joined
this time.
facilities. It doesn't meet frequently at all. I don't think it's met this year. Okay, all right. So if there's no further discussion on any of the board appointees, we can move forward into student reports, which are not here. Was there anything from the students that? Nothing. Now we'll move into administrator's report.
So, I had a presentation, I'll probably makes most sense to defer it till next time, basically on special education data across the district. Just because of the timeframe. The superintendent's report is in there. A lot of it was the focus on, problems potentially with the governor's proposal. And as far as an update from the legislature, they are still trying to figure things out. One of the committees in town has invited me to be on a panel at Chester on the 24th, actually April 14th, the first day of vacation, to talk about the governor's proposal and what impacts it might have. So they're still legislatively, they're still kind of in this information gathering stage.
Where will that meeting be here?
That'll be at the Chester Town Hall,
Okay.
What day did you say that was?
April 14th. Got too many dates on my brain.
I didn't have a superintendent's report in my packet. Did other people have?
You
did?
It's in the paper
Oh, it's in the paper.
as well. Yeah, it was, I usually email them out at the first of the month.
Oh, okay.
So
I didn't get
I
that.
apologize.
No, I always look at my calendar.
So if there's questions on that, I'm happy to answer anything on the governor's proposal or anything anybody's got. That's been the big concern. And a lot of the discussion lately with a couple of the administrators is if things start to move, how do we keep people's morale high? Kind of preserve all the good work and basically the happiness that we have in the schools. It's actually kind of wonderful. The last piece is more a question for the board. And some of it has to do with policy governance, but I think it's an important consideration. Right now, you have about $750,000 worth of administrators that are sitting through the meeting without much of a role. And typically what happens with policy governance is they'll put in the written reports each month. If the board has specific things that they want, they'll put that in there as well. And if there are really specific things the board wants to hear about, then, they would be at the meetings, but, it would be my recommendation that, they can be here if they want, but it's not an obligation. But that's something the board has to be comfortable with.
There is a black Subaru Crosstrek in the parking lot, the alarm's going off, let's say Vermont.
Unless that belongs to somebody in here. My only thought on that is, I have a lot of questions and concerns regarding like the curriculum and kind of, I would like for at least the curriculum director until there's a little more clarity on our direction and how she's kind of moving through things with the students and the teachers. And if she could continue to present or be available for questions, but that's just me. I don't know how anyone else feels that,
Yes.
Does anyone else feel about the administrators maybe not being present?
I generally don't mind if they don't have to be here, and we can, call them to provide information as needed. It makes sense to me. I've been at many meetings, I can understand reducing that.
So is the board okay with kind of a as needed,
Like by invitation,
Huh?
like by invitation.
Yeah, we have questions, but this is deeper than, we'll get out of the report. The other thing too is that you'll be getting executive limitations reports from me, which is saying that we are in compliance. If you have concern that I or your superintendent is not in compliance, these are the people that you probably want to talk to and say, hey, is this really going on?
Instead of picking on the curriculum director, maybe we could just ask for her to come on like a scheduled basis. So, come to everyone maybe like every other month just to update us.
Okay.
Does that sound reasonable?
It's reasonable.
Okay. How do you guys feel about that? Really trying to judge me.
No, I like it.
You can still.
Are you on?
You still come.
Okay, all right. Do you have any more? Okay, so, all right, so we're gonna move into the principal's report. Has everyone had an opportunity to read or? Any questions for the principals? Okay. Any questions for the principals? No. Okay. All right, is there anything that you guys were wanting to add or? No, okay.
As always, wanting to applaud the hard work that's going on in our buildings. It's been a long haul this year. They're doing awesome.
All right, and then we have the curriculum report presentation.
Yeah, so I can touch on this. So the largest amount of work right now has been about planning for tomorrow's professional development day. So there is a continuation of the current initiatives with the staff, as well as the administrative team is going to be meeting to talk about when the professional development days will be on the calendar next year, and also to provide feedback to the teachers negotiating committee about some of the proposals that the union has, just so that we can make sure that it's going to be good for the kids. The other piece that's going to be happening as we go through the remainder of the year is a discussion about, we have all these wonderful initiatives. We've got probably 30 or 40 of them. Are there ones that are a bigger priority? Are there ones that are having an impact right here and now? And then having discussions with the principals if we should be drawing back on some with a stronger focus on the ones that have the biggest impact or have the biggest opportunity to provide. And so that's kind of the work that's happening now.
Does anybody have any questions regarding curriculum?
I don't have one about that. I was just looking at the agenda thoroughly, and there's only one public comment on it.
Supposed to be two.
Yeah, that was my fault.
Normally have that one. Where did it get pulled from? Did it get pulled? Oh, it got pulled from the ends.
Remember we had
Yeah,
three.
three last time.
Yeah,
last
so-
year.
There's always one at the end.
Yeah.
And we don't have one at the end.
You can move to have it.
I move to add a public comment to,
Where would you like to add it?
Before executive session.
yeah, before executive session.
Sorry about that.
All in favor of adding a public comment to before executive session?
Aye.
Opposed? Good catch, thank you. Okay. All right. If there's no more, we'll move into facilities director report.
So Todd's in Florida. So I think in terms of what's happening in and around the district, and Emma can pipe in if she wants to in a little bit. They had the fire marshal come out and take a look at the preschool space, and it's in really, really good shape with no big things that need to be done. So that's kind of exciting. In terms of moving forward on the addition to Chester Andover, we're still kind of having a back and forth with FEMA. It was kind of funny, the last conversation in a sad sort of way. Cheryl's comment to them was, well, it really feels like we're moving backwards right now. And the gentleman that we were talking to was like, no, this means we're actually moving forward. All these roadblocks and all this discussion that happens. So it will happen, but it seems to be a really long, drawn out process. In terms of the fire doors, they have gone out, they have gotten.
Does everybody have one of these?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't.
Yeah, that'd be great.
They have gotten their proposal for the fire doors and the hardware and doing the work to get them in place and up to speed and guarantee completion by the end of August. And so part of what we're going to be asking the board for tonight is approval to take $595,000 from the reserve fund to support that work that is required by the fire marshal. The company that has been chosen was also recommended by the fire marshal. And so we did have two.
Probably a good choice.
Yeah, we did have two folks that had put in proposals. The second one was probably $20,000-$30,000 cheaper, but the scope of the proposal, how it was prepared, there was just a lot missing. The one that we've got is pretty solid.
Can I just ask though, I'm assuming it was asked that there's no conflict of interest with the fire marshal recommending who does the work. There's no conflict there.
No, we
Okay.
put it up.
Okay.
Yeah, we're making.
So he wasn't the one that said, oh, you should guys just look at this route, or did he?
The work, the scope of the work they're doing is the best.
Okay.
And then the other piece that's associated with this is the fire alarm and life safety update that needs to happen. Countryside, I believe, is the current alarm system, so it makes sense to go with them, and that would be an additional $119,000 from reserve. From what I can tell, there's $781,000 left in the reserve fund, which means that oops, sorry about that.
That's what we currently have. And I'm supposed to next year.
Gotcha. So you say
So
that piece.
currently we have 595,637. When we take out those two things, we'll end up with 24,000. I mean, those are going to happen over the summer, so
Yeah.
there's some time. But then we have order approved 357, 395, and then we also had another 400,000. So we will still have, when we get into next year, we'll still have 781,000.
It should be enough.
Okay.
So,
So I apologize. I'm getting a little sleepy after it's been a long.
in,
Yeah, go ahead.
in all of these, every time we've talked about the fire doors, Todd has said, I can't even speculate how much it's gonna be. So I'm glad he didn't, but do we think that was this what we expected, what we
I
anticipated?
thought it was gonna be more.
You did? Okay, good, because I'm looking at it like, well, I was thinking it was gonna be like 30,000. I don't know anything.
Yeah, no,
that.
Yeah,
That'll get you one.
Got it. I was getting like a,
You have to get a waiver from the state because we did not get 3,000. So I'll find.
yeah, there were only two people that blew in the bid.
It is higher than I thought it would be.
yeah.
So how many doors is this?
Every,
Jeez.
I don't know the number.
lot. Every external door or every internal door or?
Fire doors are usually internal. Yeah,
Internal, okay.
Yeah, I know.
Those fire doors.
And then the doors that have the panic
here.
bars on them,
Yeah.
if those need to be replaced, those things can go anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000. I mean, it's ridiculous how expensive stuff is.
And this company is here, you can go get it done by August 23rd.
It's pretty impressive.
The other company did not have a.
And you said it was only like $20,000.
2030. something like that.
GPS big firm.
So do you need you're asking for a,
Vote to approve taking this money from the reserve fund to be able to pay for this work.
so you're looking for a vote for two, so it'd be two, so it'd be the $451,667 and then the 119.
Yeah.
Okay, does somebody want to make that vote? I think in two motions, just so it's clear that
To
it's.
release the $451,667 for the fire doors and hardware.
Second.
All in favor?
I
Opposed? Okay, and then,
I move that we, allow the $119,427 to upgrade our alarm system.
Second.
right, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And abstaining?
Thank you.
I nailed it.
All right. Okay, so that's tiers. Is there any more for tier two?
So you have the February update, we spent 60.92% of the budget at this point, which is really good. We'd be at 66.67, but we also have that little bit, we have summer salaries that we have to do. Tier issue assessment, if you look at the financial, you'll see that we have not put any money out for transportation yet. And that's because of waiting for the transportation aid reimbursement. They were very late in getting it. So instead of Green Mountain Unified paying TRSU back for transportation and then reimbursing them back when we get the aid, we will sort of wait it out. So by the end of the year, there'll be some money in it. That's the only, it looks odd because we haven't spent any money out of that one yet. Other than that, things looking okay.
Anybody have any questions regarding the financial aid? And then is there a budget status that's gonna be addressed, or is that just been left there? Is that, we're good to
But
go?
not there, we'll take it. Yeah, you guys are fine, right? Your budget passed. It's Little Mount Holly, we're still trying to get done.
All right, we'll move into committee reports.
Oh, I'm first, okay. Okay, so the, we're up 16 students from where we were last year at this time. The really good news is that they have for next year 230 applications, which is up 80 students from last year. Right now, we have a big $883 surplus. There is, and okay, and the budget passed with 70% approval rating. Of course, unfortunately, the Springfield budget didn't pass. And they're finishing the recruitment season. They're still waiting for more applications. What's been really nice was that former students have been coming back and reporting what they're doing and sharing it with kids. Okay, it's late. That's it.
Thank you.
Oh, we did visit health sciences, which was really very interesting. And that's always the nice part of the meeting, is seeing what they do. Okay.
And thank you for doing that for so long.
It's been fun, as I said.
So as usual, the TRSU, basically, you've heard everything that was discussed. I was just going back into the minutes to make sure I was correct on something. We did have a pretty big discussion about the Rural School Community Alliance. And I just wanted to make sure I'm correct in the wording. I think as a board, we decided that the TRSU board would not join in this, but we were happy to have, if there's going to be a representative from each school board, if they want to come to the TRSU and just kind of explain where things are at. I don't know if anyone on this board has been involved or is keeping up with it, you know, or if anyone on this board is even interested. It's also something, it's not actual legislation. It is basically, it's a political action committee. So it wouldn't really fall into our legislative committee, but it could be reported on. Happy to have discussion about that at some point, but that's where the TRSU left it, as the TRSU itself would not take a position and join. Just listen. Was that also your understanding, Scott? It was a big conversation. We already have our work group dates, which this board needs to also figure out. And that was pretty much it for TRSU. All right, outreach publicity.
Yeah, we submitted another hot topics. That was pretty good, those.
He's outstanding.
And we just discussed some of the district website improvements and social media.
Do you have any questions? All right, and then the legislative committee has not met, but is warned for the 27th, correct?
Yep. Warren scheduled, back up and running. Welcome aboard, Katie. Kate, sorry.
All right, that brings us to our first public
Yeah, we've
comment.
been hoping to start that today.
That brings us to our first public comment. Whoever wants to go.
Do you want me to go someplace else?
No, just, you know, however you want to be on.
Oh,
camera.
okay. I'm Sandra Russo from Cavendish. I'm also a select board member. And just wanted to let you guys know that the select board will do whatever we need to do to get the correct person on the board. So I appreciate all your input, and I understand all your input. So just want you to know we will be cooperating or doing what needs to be done. Second of all, concerning what Bob sent in tonight, just so you know that every single board member did approve that applicant that Bob sent in. So it was done, maybe not at the right timing for everybody, but it was done the right way. That's all.
Thank you.
Sure. Excuse me, just introduce myself officially. I'm Wendy McNaughton. I'm the one that emailed all of you to offer to try to help support the board. The first comment is just that I appreciate that you are creating a special meeting so that this can be done sooner, because my intent is to be able to not leave the board without full support. And that's why I want to offer my assistance.
Thank you.
Yeah, hi, my name is Marilyn Mahesky, and I'm a Chester resident. I'm a former member of this board, the USC board. And I just wanted to say that I'm really disappointed in the board that you didn't vote to defer reorganization until after there was full representation on the board. I heard the superintendent say repeatedly, talking about equity for the voters and the people of Cavendish. And I think that the fact that you proceeded knowing full well that there was a candidate and that the Cavendish was in the process of following the statutory procedure. I read the statute differently than the superintendent does. I also am an attorney, but nevertheless, I think that it's unfortunate that this board, if you are in fact in favor of inclusion and focus on children, the fact that you had such disrespect for the members of the Cavendish community, I just wanted to convey my disappointment in this board.
Thank you.
On that issue.
Is there anyone else?
Yes.
Brady Miles, Chester. A couple things I want to talk about. One is the situation that's been going on throughout the schools, all schools, not just ours. But there was another incident with younger kids in sports that came up, and I don't know if you're aware of it. But at the games, there was a lot of bad language being said. A lot of bad things happened, and our team ended up leaving to get out of it because it was hostile. Now, I know we have some kind of policies sort of in place, but I don't think we're doing enough to support those policies and put the law down and make these people understand that this is just not acceptable in any of these schools. So I don't know if there's an additional policy that could be put together for all the schools that work together through sports. It's my understanding also that if somebody is asked to leave and not to come to games, that they are allowed to go to visiting schools and participate there. And I don't think that's right. I think if you are asked because of your behavior to leave, you should be not allowed to any of those schools, whether your kid's in it or not. This makes it really bad for parents who have kids there and want to support them in the right way. It's a very small number, and I feel there's a lot of emphasis being put on the wrong people and not enough on those individuals who cause these problems. So I really hope this board can somehow look into this and try and put something together to move this forward more, because we just can't have this kind of language. I hear all kinds of bad stuff. Kids talking to authorities, principals, and teachers in a very, very bad negative way that should never happen. Respect is what needs to come back here, and that's going to help our school turn around. So hopefully something can move forward with this, and we don't have to keep hearing. But I think working with all other schools would be very beneficial for all of us. Last thing I want to say is when the board has issues like the issue we had in the beginning of this, it really needs to come to terms in a quicker manner. Well over an hour talking about one thing, going back and forth and re-explaining it over and over is just a waste of everybody's time. If there's policies in there, follow the policy and move forward. It didn't happen, but follow policy and move forward. And the policy isn't clear, put a clear policy in. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other public There's no one online. That's funny. All right. Any board comments? All right, there's nothing under new business. Policy governance, future work days. Thank you for those that have answered the Google poll. I would like to at least try to nail these if we can today, if that's possible. The goal when we did this was to be done with all of our policy work by June so that you know, there's basically some expectations for Lane. And I think only the last time I checked, maybe 4 people answered it. So is this something that maybe we could go through and try to pick dates? I think they're in here.
There is, the dates are in the packet. If you need them, the ones that changes and everything.
Can't remember what it was. All right, so I can give you guys a minute or two to look at that if you want. Yeah. So what are people thinking? So,
Adrian, in the doodle poll, there was one set of dates to pick from, and supposed to be more than one.
there was multiple dates. It was. We need to pick 2 dates, I'm sorry.
Okay. that's-
Yeah, you need to pick 2 dates because we're gonna do two-hour sessions.
So you're looking to have them, like, like looking at the 7th and 9th, I could do both of those potentially. But like, are you looking for or distance in between, you know what I mean? Like,
I'm just whatever people want to do. I mean, you know, if people want
The
to,
7th and what?
the 9th,
The 9th? Oh, the 9th, I didn't see that.
April 9th,
April
April 7th
7th.
and 9th. Are these, were dates added to this?
I only see it.
She, I went back and I asked her, I said, you know, what do you still have?
I did too.
I mean, I voted for the 31st and the 7th.
I'm pulling up my notes, but I know that.
I mean, for the most part, I said I could do the first. I mean, I'll do whatever, but my definitives were like the 1st, the 15th. The 30th, May 6th, May 20th, 21st, but I will do whatever the majority can manage. Just
Yeah, I'm pretty flexible. And these were all night times, right? They were,
Yeah, we were looking for 6 to 8, like our standard meetings.
I feel like I did the doodle poll. I think I could do most of them. I would prefer not to do 2 in 1 week, just because that's a lot of.
Yeah,
days.
that's a lot of time.
I can do it.
Yeah, softball's starting, so you know. Softball's starting, so you're right.
Oh.
I did the doodle poll as well, but I can't do the 1st, 3rd, or 7th. I could do the 9th.
She can't do it.
For everybody?
What'd you say?
The 9th. 9th is Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yes.
Wednesday.
Yeah, I can
Yeah,
probably-
okay.
Let me just say. That wasn't one of the
They're
original
not-
dates. So just need to look. So the 9th, you need to be at LMH for something. I have,
Yeah, I can bounce back and forth. My, with between negotiations, board meetings and whatnot, there's not gonna be a time, there's not a conflict. And I'm already trained too.
okay,
But it would be helpful for, you know, me to be here, so I'll try to,
so you would miss the LMH board meeting.
partial, I bounce back and forth. I could do that through Zoom if I had to.
Okay, so one date will be April 9th,
Yeah.
yes?
And is that like 6?
6 to 8, like our standard meetings. Okay, there's one, yay. All right, next one.
In person?
I think we could do Zoom if we feel like we could get through that. I actually think Janine's gonna be.
She's gonna be Zooming in.
So.
So we'll make sure there's a Zoom.
I just said Zoom provides a little more flexibility.
Flexibility, yeah. All right, so the next date, So we have the 14th, 15th of April, 16th.
When's vacation week?
Or,
The
week of the
14th, 15th, 16th.
So this sound like vacation probably just shouldn't be a week of option or.
There's a lot of me. I'll be at-
Works for me.
Doesn't bother me, I just make it better.
Okay, well, also remember we have a board meeting on the 17th.
Oh.
I'm sorry, potentially, because isn't it in our agenda to potentially move it to the following week because of vacation?
Well,
It
it
is.
said, it had asked for that, I can't do, I can't do the following week. Because I'll be-
So I could do the 16th. Okay, with vacation.
16, that work for everybody?
And then
So,
we have a board meeting on the 17th.
so if we don't move the board meeting, I just want to make sure, if we don't move the board meeting, that would be 2 back-to-back meetings. Is that good for everybody?
6 to 8.
It's fine if it's Zoom. It's one of them Zoom, it's helpful.
Okay.
6.
All right, so we are going to do our sessions April 9th and April 16th
Yeah.
here or on Zoom. And then potentially we'll have the GM meeting on the 17th, on the 2nd. Everyone in agreement with that?
Yep.
Does that work for you as well? Okay, and will you let Janine know that?
Yeah.
Okay,
And I'll get it.
thank you for getting that done, guys, I appreciate that.
Hey, just FYI, the RVTC meeting is on the 2nd. April 2nd.
Does this board notify that board and then they'll like
No,
send me
I'll
invitations or?
notify them that you're the new rep. And they'll email
email me
me
this
one.
stuff. Okay.
Email.
I don't ever see any warnings for it, so I think
No,
it's outside of us.
it's, yeah, they're very efficient.
Okay, all right, thank you for that. All right, moving on, we're gonna go into old business. Negotiations update, if there is one.
Yeah, actually, the teachers have been moving along pretty well. We're at the point where we're going to be making some pretty heavy offers at the next meeting, and the hope is that, you know, within a meeting or two, we'll have things wrapped up. If not, it'll be very clear that there won't be an agreement, and we may have to move things afterwards, but it's unclear at this point. You know? The support staff, their next meeting is going to be on the 25th, next Tuesday. Teachers' next meeting will be on the 27th. Support staff, we're a little bit behind on. Okay.
No.
Oh, yeah, I'll have to, so I don't, yeah, I keep thinking about that. I appreciate that. So, yeah, so you don't need to know about support staff. The secret. Questions on teachers?
25th, when is that? What time?
Not you.
No.
Okay, well, the
support.
outside.
Oh,
Well, the
That's
So
the-
that's, yeah, on board.
cool.
Yeah, you guys are next year.
Yeah, I was like, oh, you said that.
Gets me like that every so often, I'll be like, what? Okay, all right, Cavendish Public Library agreements with GMUSD, is there an update or anything on that right now?
So that's the, it's actually the last 2 pages of the packet. So remember that a part of the agreement was that the board would reconsider the agreement along with the town of Cavendish prior to the expiration of the current agreement. So it would be time to kind of start working on that and talking about it, what might need to be in there. I did pull together kind of a little fact sheet just to hopefully help promote, you know, discussion about it. Did talk a little bit with legal. Some of the pieces that are there are just observations they made about this is language that's missing that should probably be in there for protection on both sides. And so all that's in the little. You could actually, in future board meetings, decide as a full board to work on it, or you could, you know, get a subcommittee together to say, hey, you know, you're charged with, you know, updating the agreement and then bringing it back to the board.
Can I make a suggestion that we table any of that until the next meeting? If that works.
Yes.
table Cavendish Public Library agreement to begin discussion. We've already gotten the FEMA update. Yes. And the fiscal update. Okay, there were no policies. No policies adopted. Yes. Future agenda items. All right, next meeting date, well, actually, so we will have our 2 work dates that we just agreed upon. Which I wrote down and lost.
9th and 16th.
Thank you. Which will be here and on Zoom, 6 to 8 p.m. And then our next regularly scheduled meeting, unless we decide to change it, will be April 17th. Does anyone want to change it to the following week, or are we fine with the 17th? Lois has already said.
Well, I just can't be here on the following week, but that's fine. I'll be at home.
Thoughts? Vacation week, you guys are fine coming in?
I think I can't do the 24th either. That's a board
I
meeting.
can't do the 24th.
So my preference would be to keep it.
All right. Is that okay with everyone else? All right, so we will continue with our regular schedule meeting on the 17th. Busy week. Okay, all right, that brings us to our last public comment.
I'm sorry, oh, go ahead, Sarah. Okay, hi, Sandra Russo, I'm representing the library on this thing. Lane, I did read your comments, this is not like a discussion session, I did read your comments that came out in the minutes and something else. So, you know, and I have some questions about certain things that you did talk about. You talked about this fact sheet and some comments from the legal department. Is there any way we could receive that so that we could be prepared when we have because we'd like to have a discussion with you prior so we could put it together?
So the legal pieces are cut and pasted into the memo, so I'm happy. Are you saying you just want a copy of the memo?
Yeah.
Because that's got all the information that's been shared with the board.
Yes, anything that your legal department has suggested that I'd like to see a copy of, and any fact sheet that you have.
Do you have one of these?
It's in the.
Because we like to be prepared.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It's the last 2 pages.
Okay, if we could meet with you and your attorney separately, before it comes to the board. Bring them a fairly clean document, it's up to you.
Yeah, no, usually the attorney usually isn't a part of it. Usually, as a requirement, part of my job is making sure that I'm the district's assets. So what we would do is after agreement for the future is hammered out, then I would run it by the attorney on our side, say, is there anything missing?
We didn't have one last time, but certainly whatever they could bring to both of us.
Yeah, no, not a problem at all.
Yeah. So could you set up a meeting that we can get together, or I didn't expect to talk about this for a couple of months.
Yeah, well, the board has to decide what process it wants to use to negotiate or discuss. I mean, I'm happy to do it if you want me to, but.
All right. Any other comments?
Yes.
Sarah?
You want to go first, Randy?
I'm sorry, Randy, I didn't see you.
You sure?
All right. I guess I'm addressing you, Lane, because I'm not sure if you brought it up with the board, but I just wondered what you have done and what the board has discussed regarding the Agency of Education guidance on immigration enforcement in our schools, and whether folks who are opening the door are aware of procedure and are prepared to review a judicial warrant and make a call to the lawyer before they disclose further information.
There was a procedure that was written up and delivered and discussed with the principals that was vetted by legal counsel. That was done, I don't know, a month and a half ago. Yeah, so, yeah.
Can we get a copy of it? Is it the agency? Is it what came down from the Agency of Education? And
No, it's adapted a little bit based upon legal counsel, but it's pretty close. What I will do is under FERPA, if it is dealing with security issues, it is not a public document, so I'll run it past the lawyers to say, hey, is this open in public, or is this considered a security document, in which case it's not subject to being disseminated publicly. Because usually with security, if you have policies, procedures, and things that are in place that are designed to protect the school and protect the students, Those are things you probably don't want public because people can plan around them. So, yeah, so happy to. If you shoot me an email, that'll remind me. I'll talk with Pietro, and the second I hear back from him, I'm happy to send it to you.
Sure. Randy?
I like to talk to the board. I'm not sure if there's the proper way to go about it, but I'd like to throw it out and find the guidance on how maybe to proceed. That's great. But I'm part of a group and we have discussions about different things. And one of the discussions is how can we promote more people coming to the school? You know, whether it be the games, whether it be for whatever, anything to get the public more to go to our schools and be involved. And one of the things that came up, and it is possibly some kind of signage out by the end of the road. Because the school is set way back. So the public really doesn't know what goes on unless they happen to read an article. It's a new thing with these LED signs and stuff. It's incredible what they can offer for information. Some towns are for them, some towns are not. But I was wondering if it would be okay for information exploratory only for me to look into that and present information that I find to the board.
Yeah, sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm assuming you're proposing how it would be paid for.
I will provide some means of funding, the size, the cost, whether or not it's able to be permitted for this town. As much as information I can give to the board, I will, and then we can decide upon what to do with it.
So I'm just gonna ask that you talk with Lane, so email back and forth
I
regarding
mean,
that.
can I add on to that? It would be good that you could put when board meetings are too.
I think it would be very,
Yes.
very beneficial for a lot of reasons.
Just make sure, I don't want to enter into
Get used to
discussion.
from here, Excel. Sorry.
So, yeah, if you would converse with Lane, thank you. All right, is there any other comments?
I'll check with Joe.
Yeah. Online. All right. All right, so that now is going to conclude the public portion of this, and we are going to move into executive session. So, I need a motion to move into executive session.
Second.